Deputy Breach-Smith.
Margaret, I want to start by thanking Sinn Féin for bringing forward this very important, very important motion, but also thanking the carers in our country who've done a really amazing job of looking after their loved ones for year in, year out, for long periods of time. My own sister gave 20 years of her life looking after my mother and did it 24/7 without question. And it is not an easy thing to do. And indeed, all the statistics will show that making that sacrifice comes at a high price in your own life. What is really disgraceful, though, and I think it should be mentioned, is that the legacy that the Irish state has in dealing with families, with people who are challenged mentally, physically, challenged visually, challenged by audio challenges, and then people who become old. There is a tradition in this country of outsourcing. Some people think outsourcing is a relatively new thing that capitalist societies do, but actually the Irish state has been brilliant at it since its foundation. In the past, it outsourced it to charities attached to religious institutions, and the legacy of that is Section 38 and Section 39 workers, many of whom also are not paid properly or is in receipt of a decent pension. And that outsourcing has also been to the family. The family in Ireland, it does have a strong tradition and a strong culture, but it comes at a high price of the state ignoring the carers. And as has been said, who is going to care for the carers? And that's why I think not only should we pass this motion, but we should pursue every aspect of it with vigour over the next few years to ensure that carers get the justice that they deserve. They often work 24/7, they get a respite payment annually, but many of them aren't able to do much with it, particularly since cutbacks in respite have been prevalent, particularly in HSE settings over the last few years. We ran, I don't know, was it 3 or 4 campaigns over the last 10 years to stop respite wards closing in Cherry Orchard Hospital. We won some of them, but we lost some of them as well. And that has meant a reduction in the availability of respite beds to people in our community who do a tremendous job of looking after the elderly, the frail and the disabled, and those who are challenged or suffering from dementia at home. In fact, the savings to the state is estimated in one record at 10 billion a year, in another at 20 billion a year. The CSO reckons there are over 500,000 carers, not all of them in receipt of benefits or allowance, but there's over 500,000 of them in a country that has 4.5 million people. You're talking about 1 in 8 or 1 in 9 members of the population from the age 15 upwards engaged in home caring. And this, to me, would say that the Irish government, no matter who they are, where they are, should begin to recognise the very valuable contribution of that cohort of people. 2 in 3 who provide 100 hours a week, 1 in 4, 50 hours, without any allowance or benefit. 1 in 3 have been diagnosed with depression, 4 out of 10 with anxiety, 2/3 suffer with their own physical ill health. 2 out of 3 say their health has suffered because of caring for their loved ones. And access to routine supports have been seriously reduced since austerity began in 2009. Many of them receive no home help, receive no training in how to shower somebody, how to move them in the bed, how to lift them, how to carry them from their wheelchair into the bed or onto the toilet facilities. And that is a complete neglect of those people who do an amazing job. So there's a huge heap of stuff that has to be cared for here. And like others, I just want to read, because she asked me to, what Donna has to say, age 34, about caring for her husband who has MS, and she's doing it for the last 3 years. I've sat and watched over the last 12 months as profits from airlines and travel have been prioritised over my life and everybody else's in this country. I've not received extra money for PPE, sanitiser, electricity for being in the house. I've done my bit. I have single-handedly, without any home help, looked after my husband for the last 3 years. And what do the government tell us? They tell us that we can go to hell and we have to look after ourselves. So we have to ensure that issues are dealt with, like the supports that are there, the training that should be there, and indeed an increase in the payment for a job that is saving this state absolutely billions of euro a year, and insurance that these people, every single one of them, will be entitled to a proper pension. Nobody really understands until you do the job or have somebody close to you doing it what enormous sacrifice that carers make, and they are completely undervalued. We need to care for our carers.